my name is Serena Poon, and welcome to my show, Serena Loves. As a celebrity chef and nutritionist, I'm incredibly passionate about helping others live their best life through methods that I call culinary alchemy, which is a combination of education and nutrition and healing energy. So every episode, I'm going to bring to you the inspiring stories of these amazing guests who are entrepreneurs from all different industries to share their personal journeys of how they came from overcoming challenges to the success they have today. Today, I'm so excited to introduce my friend, Jay Menez, who is literally a jack of all trades. You are an author, you're an entrepreneur, you're a filmmaker, you're a producer, you've got your own show and your own studio. So I would love for you to share with us a little bit about your journey, because you started off, actually even before Wall Street, you just told me today, but I knew that you had started off in Wall Street and then you had a challenge that pivoted your life into a different direction. So share with us.
Well, where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with what happened before Wall Street, because that's new to me.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on the show,
Of
Serena.
course.
I'm honored.
You're awesome, so I'm happy you're here.
Thank you. Thank you. So my first real career was actually in public service as a police officer.
Oh, amazing.
And I actually got that start from when I was in high school. I actually belonged to a volunteer fire department.
Wow.
And then when I graduated, I went to the local community college to study to become a paramedic.
Wow.
And I realized that those guys, between calls, they just clean the station, and that's why police fire stations are so spotless, which is a lot of fun, a lot of good chance for bonding and everything with your colleagues. But the police officers would come in and tell us all these cool stories about car chases and arresting people and going to the range and shooting their guns. I thought, that's me. I got to do that. So I went into the police department, spent about 5 years there, and rotated through a lot of the different departments there. And when I got out, I decided I wanted to go to law school. So I ended up in law school, got recruited by a Wall Street investment banking firm, and started doing, and this is right when the dot-coms were starting to peak. And so I went to work for that firm and started traveling around raising money for emerging growth companies, and like I said, a lot of
Startups.
Internet companies, a lot of internet startups, which they'd have problems finding money today. But back then, they would buy anything. That's why these new regulations came about, actually. But had a lot of fun doing that. But then when 9/11 occurred, it really killed that micro-cap public offering market. And we started doing things that were like advisory work, things that weren't as interesting to me. So then I pivoted into real estate. And I ended up opening my own real estate firm. We started doing mortgages and that sort of thing. And then that did really well as the real estate market was booming. After that, we had that crash here in California. Well, it was a global crash, really.
Right.
About 2008, and I ended up losing my firm. Wow. I was doing loans mostly to commercial loans to developers, hard money loans, and through those defaults, it really just ruined my business. So I found myself at a very low point in my life where I had to go, look, I have to start over again. Right. And as a result, I had to ask myself, if I was going to rebuild again, do I really want to go into finance, or do I want to, this time around, do something more creative and something that I've really always been interested in, which was filmmaking.
Right. So when that happened, I mean, and sorry to interrupt, but I just want to kind of dig deeper into that aspect. When that sort of crash happened, it obviously affected you professionally, financially, but what about like your health? I mean, was that a factor into going into the creative space? Oh,
it sure was. At the time, I was working out pretty heavily. I was focused on my nutrition. I was really taking care of myself, and I tried to continue that. There were some lapses in there, but I think that's probably the main thing that kept me going, because as we know, the stress can kill us.
Yeah.
And that was a very stressful part of my life. But having had that regimen and not really even having to start it up again, I just had to focus on continuing
Right.
what we
You're
were
just
doing.
sort of like your routine, just like sticking with that self-care to sort of balance everything out.
For sure. Very, very important.
Yeah.
And I found myself getting more into meditation.
Oh, that's great. So that was sort of when it started for you?
Yeah, yeah. Because at the same time, I started diving deeper into personal development, and I started. I had followed guys like Tony Robbins for decades,
He's great.
and I really loved his work. But at that point, I really had to changing my career and going into Hollywood filmmaking. I was really looking into mentorship.
Right.
And I realized that it's not only those technical skills that we need, but especially to make such a big change, you really need these mental strategies to get you through it, get through the hard time, because it's not easy. And I think one of the biggest challenges for me was learning to be a beginner again.
Yeah. Yeah, and just sort of that starting over and embracing that that's part of your journey.
Yeah. If you can imagine, from where I came from, at the top of my game, I was living in Orange County, Newport Coast, California, multi-million-dollar house and exotic cars and, everything. I had everything that I wanted, and I was basically living what most people would call a dream life.
Right.
But at the same time, I knew that there was something missing.
Right.
And so I had to reframe that whole crash thing and this reinvention as really a serendipitous push into something more positive and more contributory in nature.
That's beautiful. So then you went from that into filmmaking, and is that when you started your studio?
That came much later on.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the pivot.
Well, after I had done a bunch of features and short films and commercial work and everything, under the guidance of some really great mentors, I started to get the itch again and decided, well, if I really want to make an impact, I need to get in front of the camera. And so that's what I did.
It's awesome.
And, I see that really as another reinvention.
Sure.
Because I'd spent so many years behind the camera just learning all this stuff. I thought, well, I could go in front of the camera and I could do it really on my own more economically, because I understand all the nuances of production now. And so that's what I did. And it's a relatively new project. It's probably been in my brain for about a year, but it's really just this summer I started taping the show, which is called Hollywood Real.
Yes, I want to hear a little bit more about that. It sounds so exciting.
Yeah, so Hollywood Real is a show which really where I introduce my audience to these remarkable people who work in entertainment and sports who are making their dreams happen.
Right.
And we dive into the early struggles of that journey and how these people navigated their way through it, the lessons they learned, and then most importantly, the mental habits that they developed to find success at whatever level they're at.
Did you find sort of like a common theme that people had in this sort of, it's self-care in a way, right? And just sort of in this their own strategies of mental health to kind of give them that push. Is there, from all your interviews, have you found sort of a common thread that all these athletes and actors that they've done, just as like, I don't know, a little tip for our audience that people have done?
Well, there are a lot of commonalities, and which is the reason I wrote my book, which we could talk about later.
Yes, for sure. He wrote a book too.
But I think that probably the easiest thing to implement today is the practice of gratitude.
Yes.
And I see that among all the most successful people is they recognize where they came from, and no matter what level they're at, even in the downtimes, I know now that even when things are going really rough and it's your darkest moments, you need to reframe that into what can you be grateful for now? Because when we're feeling down and depressed, it's because we're so focused on what's going on with us, what's happening to us, what we don't have. Those sort of things, And when we redirect that energy into into recognizing the things that we do have that are good for us, such as our health, or that we have a place to live, or whatever, the people in our lives especially, that it's really hard to be down on ourselves, to be depressed.
100%. I'm with you all the way with that. I mean, are there ways that you do it? So how do you practice gratitude? I mean, I know I kind of go through it every morning and every night, in bed, before I get up, before I go to sleep. I kind of go through this gratitude list. I mean, how do you do it? How do you practice gratitude?
Yeah, it really comes down to the daily routine.
Yeah.
And like you, it's not always every morning, every night, but at least once a day.
Yeah.
It could be the middle of the day when I'm trying to take a breather. I'll close my eyes and just try to catch my breath.
Yeah.
I can kind of go back in that and say, okay, I'm exhausted right now, but these are the things I'm grateful for, the opportunity that even puts me in this position there, because I recognize that however hard it may get, there are so many people out there that would probably kill to be in my position.
Sure, yeah.
To be suffering like that.
And you've taken these sort of mental habits, and things you've done, and you've put it in a book, right?
I did, yes.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because it's on Amazon and everybody should order it.
Thank you. I really wrote the book for a couple reasons. Mainly for the beginner to success psychology, success mindsets. It kind of puts it all together in one place and into a framework that makes it easier to understand and easier to apply. So it's a very easy to read book.
It's like a guide, right?
Yeah.
It's called Spark?
It's called Spark, The 8 Mental Habits of Highly Successful People. Because it's the result of personal interaction and interviews and virtual mentorship with really these icons of business, of entertainment, authors, athletes, academics, really a diverse slice of the population.
Which is great, because it's almost like anyone and everyone can find some part of it that they can identify with, right? So
Right. And you can go to a chapter and go, I want to learn more about that. And then at the end, it gives you ways to implement it. And so it's intended to be a really easy read for people.
That's so great. I mean, I've been trying to get my hands on it. It's only on Kindle. I'm not Kindle yet, but
there's an app.
Yes, I know. I have to get that. But aren't you reprinting? So you have a new cover coming up?
I am. Yeah,
I'm
very
going to get
excited
my hands
about
on the
that.
tangible one. So tell us about that. When does that come out?
Looking at probably a week. I should have the proof now.
Okay, so just in time for Christmas.
Oh,
something
for sure.
I can order and send to my friends. Basically.
Yeah, that'd be
So
great.
great.
I'll bring you a stack.
Yeah, I think I might need a stack, especially after the show. People are going to be emailing me and direct messaging me and wanting to know about this book, because anything that's simple, which is a lot like our slogan for Just Add Water, my product, is simplify your self-care, simplify your mindset, right? Simplify these routines that can just enhance and make our lives better, I love that about your book. So thank you so much. Was there anything else that you would love to share? I mean, you have so much going on, that I think that we could talk for like an hour.
Yeah, well, probably hours, Serena.
Yeah, I know. It's true, hours.
I can't wait to have you on my show.
Oh my gosh.
Because
I'd be honored to be on it.
Yeah, thank you. Your audience is so engaged on your social, everywhere, everything that you do, I know, and your message is just so valuable. People really need to hear more about it, and I'd love to
Thank you.
help you share that message and share the message with my audience also.
Thank you so much. I mean, this is why we're here, right? We're here to basically inspire and empower and to teach other people. So I'm so grateful that you came today. Really, truly. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you, Serena.